Good morning. It's Matthew Bradshaw, the future President of the United States of America in 2020. It is 5:04 a.m., March 6th. I just woke up. This is one of my days off, and I actually got to bed early last night, so I'm waking up early today. Normally, I am still awake at this time. Today, I decided to go ahead and put the first segment of the journey that we're going to basically be documenting over the next 6 years. So let's start out with the beginning of all this. In July, in early July, I was driving down the road praying, and the Lord told me it's time to go back to law school. Or not back to law school, but time to go to law school. And for a long time in my life, I've had an interest in law, an interest in debate, an interest in protecting freedom that way. And actually, I've had people tell me, why don't you be a lawyer? And I was like, well, because that ain't in the cards. That ain't what, that's, in the cards, so to speak. I said, that ain't what the Lord's called me to do. And at least He hadn't called me to do up until then. So I was driving down the road, and the Lord told me it was time to go to law school. I said, what does that mean? I didn't really get too much, but I was told I needed to talk to Ron Hines. He is a lawyer. Just to put it out there, anybody who knows him, there's good and bad out there about him. I'm not going to address that. You form your own opinion of him, because he is actually irrelevant as far as his past. What was relevant is that the Lord told me that I had to go speak to him. The Lord told me a few things to go speak to him about. One was that somehow I was going to be linked in some way to a spiritual reformation of his house for the good. Another thing, that somehow he's supposed to help me with this law stuff. I don't even really know exactly what's going to go down yet. It's still within the first year of me even being told about the call of the presidency, and I'm really still praying for clarity on lots of things. And as God does best, He lets us know in His timing, and it's usually piece by piece. Here, follow this, walk by faith. So, first thing I got to do, the Lord says you got to talk to Ron Hines. First of all, he's so hard to get hold of. All my life, well, let's say all my Breckenridge County life, that the Lord has ever had me say I need to get a hold of Ron Hines, which has happened before, and I have obeyed then as well. But it's so hard to get a hold of this man, and then even if you can get a hold of him, it's hard to get time to go see him just because he's a busy lawyer. So I put it off, and there's some other reasons, some other personal issue, fears, that, am I crazy about this? Do I really need to talk to Ron Hines? Is this really God telling me that I need to talk to this guy? When I go to talk to this guy and tell him that the Lord told me I was going to be president in 2020, is he going to think I'm crazy? Is he going to listen to me? Is he going to be like everybody else that thinks I'm crazy? But the fact is, now I know beyond a shadow of a doubt. I've been through certain things that I asked and sought confirmation from the Lord, and He gave me 100% confirmation, and I'm not worried about the fact of whether or not this is God anymore. Now, what concerns me is, can I do it? Can I persevere? Because ever since the beginning of this, ever since I accepted it, this call, I've been under spiritual attack left and right. So I know now that all of this was ordained of God. So I'm going to get back to the story. Tells me to talk to him. It is like almost September. Or maybe it was in September. I can't remember. It was right at the end of August. It was at least late August, early September. Excuse me. And I was sitting upstairs during this one weekend. And this whole weekend, the Lord was telling me, you need to call Ron Hines. You need to call Ron Hines. And this is what He told me. He said, the tide is low. He said, if you begin to go out to this boat that's out here. See, right before all this, the Lord had me have my wife quit her job. Because the Lord told me that I am going to have you step out of the boat, and you're going to have to walk by faith and begin to let things go so that I can bless you through obedience. So we had already stepped out of the boat Okay, so then he told me, he said, your boat is in the harbor. It's out there in the water. He said, and the tide is low now. You're going to be able to get out a lot further, a lot quicker, a lot easier if you go now, if you get moving now. However, if I don't and I wait, then it's going to happen. I'm going to get to that boat. That boat is provision, protection. It's the ride. It is everything I need to get where he is going to take me. But I got to obey, and I got to swim out there. He said, look, if you go now, the tide's low, the waves aren't as big, you're still going to fight waves, you're still going to fight tide, you're still going to fight current, you're still going to fight things coming against you, trying to stop you, trying to kill you, trying to hinder every step of the way. He said, but it'll be easier to get that momentum and commit and go on and get out there because the tide is low and it'll take less time and the fight will be less. And that's what he was telling me all that weekend. And it had been the third day that he had been telling me that. And my wife comes upstairs and she says, honey, she says, I have really felt strongly these past few days that you need to call Ron Hines ASAP. And, it just kind of set me back a second, but I was like, yeah, I know. The Lord has been telling me the same thing. So, I do just that. At that moment, I get a hold of my buddy Alex, which is his son. I said, hey, man, what's your dad's number? He texts me his number. I call his dad. This is on a Sunday. The next day is like Memorial Day or something like that, because Monday it was off. Everybody was off. Banks were closed down. He was off. Everything was closed. So he answers the phone, and I said, Ron, I really need to speak to you as soon as possible. He said, is it an emergency? I said, I wouldn't call it an emergency, but I would label it as urgent. And he said, can you call me tomorrow at 10 a.m.? I said, yeah, that'll work. That's fine. I'll be more than happy to do that. So, next day, I'm anxious all night long. I'm normally a night out anyways, and I can't sleep. So I stay up all night pretty much. I don't even remember what all I was doing that whole night. But 10 o'clock rolls around. I give him a call. It's actually 10:01, if you want to be specific, And, but either way, I give him a call. He doesn't answer. I leave a message. He doesn't call me back. And I'm like, all right. So now I go from my house. I'm over to the shop. I'm trying to figure things out. And I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm tired. I need to go to bed. But he told me to call him. What if I fall asleep, take a nap, and he calls me back? Well, the Lord said, rest, and I'll wake you up. So I said, okay, Lord. So I laid down and I went to sleep. A few hours later, after having a pretty good nap, I think it was somewhere around 4 o'clock, the Lord wakes me up and he says, do what you got to do. So I did the things that I had to do. And he said, go to Ron Hines' house. I said, what if he's not there? He said, just go to his house anyway. So what if he's not there? So, on my way there, because the Lord said just go. So on my way there, I call his son. I can't get a hold of Ron Hines. Can't get a hold of his son, actually. So I texted his son. Finally, his son contacts me back. I said, do you know where your dad is? He said, no, I don't know where my dad is. He said, I think he's around here somewhere, but I haven't seen him for a little while. So I head out to Ron Hines' house. And I go out there, and I meet with him, and I talk with him. And I'm going to cut to the chase. I told him some things. I told him everything I've already said on here, that God was going to have me be part of a change in his life. Either way, we ended up talking, and I'm about to run out of time on this one, so catch you on the very next video. I'm going to upload it right after this one.